President Trump's mission to expand his executive power has found an ally in the Supreme Court. This week, the court handed the White House yet another victory by overturning a near-century-old precedent. In a 6-3 ruling in the Trump versus Slaughter case, the court found that Trump's firing of Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter without cause was lawful. Trump fired Slaughter and the only other Democratic commissioner at the FTC, Alvaro Bedoya, just 2 months into his second term last year. And at the time, the administration didn't say they did anything wrong or that they weren't capable of carrying out their jobs or that they neglected their duties in some way, just that they weren't a good fit for his agenda. That's it. Really. In their termination letters, Trump wrote, quote, "Your continued service on the FTC is inconsistent with my administration's priorities. Accordingly, I am removing you from my office, from office, pursuant to my authority under Article 2 of the Constitution." And this week, the Supreme Court essentially ruled that that was valid. In the majority's opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that while it is up to the Senate to confirm presidential nominees, quote, "Neither Congress nor the courts may saddle the president with those with whom he cannot work." Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor described the decision as grievously wrong and one that, quote, "reshapes the structure of government in a fundamental way by giving the president a power unknown even to the English crown against which the founders revolted, elevating him above his once co-equal branches." Listen, to be clear, this now gives the president far more power over those serving in a range of independent federal agencies, agencies that are supposed to make decisions on everything from our broadcasting and internet rules to our interest rates. And they don't do it based on politics. They do it based on expertise and the law, not on shifting political priorities. It is why many of these independent federal agencies are typically led by members of both parties. It is why Congress wanted agencies like the FTC to remain insulated from political influence when it was created back in 1914. And it is why this latest ruling from the highest court in the land and the potential chilling effect that could follow should concern anybody who believes in the checks and the balances of our government, no matter what political party you are from. As former U.S. attorney and law professor Harry Litman puts it, quote, "You don't have to fire very many people to make everyone else flinch." That is the thumb on the scale toward partisan convenience and away from independent expertise. Exactly the trade the people who built these agencies thought they had foreclosed for good. Joining me now is Rebecca Slaughter, who served as a commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission from 2018 until her firing in 2025 by President Donald Trump. This week, the Supreme Court ruled that her firing was lawful. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jacob. Happy July 4th.
You too. You too. You have had a couple days now to sit with this ruling. How are you feeling? Were you surprised ultimately by what the court decided?
Well, I think the way I'd characterize it is that I was just profoundly disappointed. You read earlier from Justice Sotomayor's dissent that pointed out that not even kings against which our founding fathers revolted had the kind of power that the Supreme Court has now said the president is entitled to. And I think that's a really sad change in our fundamental structure of government, mostly for the American people, because the American people deserve a government that is fighting for them and not just for the powerful.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole thing. The FTC's job is to protect consumers from deceptive practices, from monopolies. And all you got to do is step outside your front door to see that inflation is up and Americans are struggling to. I filled up gas this morning on my way here to afford gas for their cars and to put food on the table. What does it mean for American consumers specifically that the FTC is essentially no longer able to act independently? What are the ramifications?
Well, I think it's exactly what you're talking about. It is about whether the government, the institutions of government that Congress established to be a check on unfair, illegal business practices, on billionaire corporations and the billionaires who run them running wild, about whether they're going to be able to operate as a check or whether they're going to have to operate in fear of getting fired for failure to do a favor for the president's billionaire buddies. And I think I keep going back to the picture from the inauguration. That's what I can't get out of my mind,
right,
of the president standing surrounded not by heads of state, not by public servants, not even by his family, but surrounded by the executives of the most powerful corporations in America. And what I thought as an FTC commissioner is not only, whoa, that's weird, but also we are currently in litigation against almost every one of those people's companies. And what will it mean if the president says to the FTC commissioners, I want you to make this case go away because this company is helping to build my ballroom or donated to my inauguration? In the past, what it would mean would be nothing, because the way the FTC was structured, commissioners were obligated to follow the law, follow the facts, follow their oath, which is to the Constitution and the laws of the United States, and not follow out of blind loyalty to the president. And they couldn't be fired for failure to follow an illegal order. And now they can be. And that is a massive, massive change when it comes to you, the American people's ability to trust that government is working for you.
What is your level of worry or fear about the chilling effect that it could have? Not just on the FTC, but there's 20 independent, I think more than 20 independent federal agencies that are affected by this ruling. Is there another agency that you are the most concerned about?
Yeah, well, it's about 24 agencies, and they cover all kinds of important things from nuclear safety to consumer product safety. You referenced earlier, and Professor Littman's op-ed referenced the fact that the chilling effect doesn't require just removing voices of dissent. What the president has done and what the Supreme Court has empowered is send a message to every commissioner, majority or minority, that if you don't say how high when he says jump, you're out. And one of the most clear places we are seeing that right now is at the Federal Communications Commission, where Chairman Carr is wielding the power of that agency to literally punish speech that he doesn't like, whether it's news coverage that the president finds unfavorable or even comedians who offend the president. That's so antithetical to the fundamental tenets of free expression and free speech and political dissent in America. And especially today, when we are celebrating America's history and its promise, it really brings into stark contrast what an overhaul the Supreme Court has wrought into of what our founders intended our government to be, and what the president is trying to use it as today.
Rebecca Slaughter, former commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission. Thank you so much for being here. And again, happy 4th to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jacob.